You guys. So I had an important conversation this morning. This one is not important in the same way, but I think maybe important nonetheless. So I just got off the phone with my sister. She lives about an hour and 45 minutes from me. And we were talking about how spring can get kind of busy. And so she starts telling me how she's going to a wedding. And then she's telling me about how she's having to go to this like bachelorette weekend thing. And she's had to go to a lot of bachelorette weekends. I've been married almost 15 years. So this wasn't like a thing when I got married. The bachelorette weekend or the bachelor weekend. We had what was called a bachelor or bachelorette party, which means a singular event that often happened during the same weekend of the wedding. But now people think that you should go away with them and their friends for a whole weekend. So my sister, bless her soul, has had to go to Las Vegas for a bachelorette weekend. She's had to go to now listen, these aren't bad places. They're probably places that are nice to go. But it's for a bachelorette party weekend. And when I say weekend, I mean people want to start the festivities on Friday, which means that most everyone going, if they have a job, a job, they have to take off the day of work on Friday, which let me remind you, they're going to take off the day of work for your wedding, especially if you're one of those people now who's saving money and getting married on a Tuesday or a Friday because it's cheaper than getting married on a Saturday. So listen, I want to celebrate that you're getting married. I mean, I asked people to celebrate when I was getting married. They took off days of work. My bridesmaids, they came in on Thursday so that we had a lingerie shower, because those are important too, and a bachelorette party the same night. We had the shower and the party on the same night on Thursday. And then on Friday, we had wedding festivities. We had a bridesmaids luncheon. We had a rehearsal dinner, those standard fare wedding events. And then on Saturday, we had a wedding. And it was great. And it took up 3 days of people's lives. Maybe 4, probably, because most of them traveled home on Sunday. But now, also, it's expensive. 15 years ago, it was expensive to be in someone's wedding. It costs you got to buy a dress that millennials, listen up, they ain't never going to wear it again. I don't care how good it was. Mine was good. One of my bridesmaids did cut it off and wear it again, but don't kid yourself. That doesn't happen. People don't want to wear it again. They wore it to your wedding, and it was a shade of peach that they would never choose, and it was made of gauzy fabric, and they had to wear a really uncomfortable strapless bra with it. They're not going to wear that dress again. They're not. So that's one thing you got to pay for. Most people don't pay for you to stay at their wedding. Now listen, my parents were real generous, so they did. They paid the hotel room for my bridesmaids, and they paid for the groomsmen to stay, because those people we asked to be in our wedding. No one should ever have to tell you that they can't be your friend in your wedding, because you're ridiculous. And you're asking them to spend a lot of money. And I know that the average age of people getting married is older now. It's 30. So one would like to think that you've held down a job for a while. So maybe you have a little bit more money. But last I checked, I knew people paying off student loans well into their 30s. I think some of my friends, we're almost 40. They're just finishing up. But you don't ask them to come to a weekend, a bachelorette weekend in Whistler, Canada. We're going to go skiing for my bachelorette party. It's going to cost $3,000. Won't it be fun? No. No one wants to do that. They love you, but they don't know your friend from high school. They don't know the girl that lived across the street when you grew up. They don't know your neighbor next door or your roommate from college. They don't know. Just because they work with you doesn't mean that they want to spend $3,000 to spend a whole weekend with all your people in somewhere random. Y'all, it's crazy. Anyway, I feel like we need to get a handle on this. Because then you got to pay to go to the wedding too. and people expect you to buy them a present. I tell you what the present is. It's your presence. Your presence. Like you showed up and you came. So I got your presents right here. I came. I spent $1 bajillion to come to your wedding. I mean, you don't need another crock pot. Besides, the Instant Pot is better. And you can buy that with the money that you're going to ask for your honeymoon. This is another thing that people are doing. They're asking everyone for money for their honeymoon. Y'all, we went and stayed at a family member's beach house because it was free. And then we saved up some money later, and then we went on like a honeymoon 6 months later. I mean, y'all need to be asking people to pay for your honeymoon. Anyway, I think weddings are getting out of control. We need to do something about it. I live in the South. You say thank you. And you write a thank you note. You write a note. Someone sends you a present, you write them a note. And I don't care if Emily Post says you have a year to write it. I had to write 450 thank you notes because my parents invited the free world to my wedding. And I wrote those dang notes, and it took me a long time, and I had carpal tunnel. So anyway, you don't be asking people to pay for all this stuff. You don't ask them to go with you to Paris on your bachelorette weekend. That's ridiculous. Freaking save your money from your bachelorette weekend and go on a honeymoon. The nerve.